Hey guys.
Hey Alexander. Are you back at home safely?
Yeah. So, well, I catch the cold on the flight back, but, well.
Yeah, same thing happened with me. And the plane ran out of gas, which was awesome.
Oh.
Yeah, to land in Portland.
It didn't happen to my long flight. I think it would be a bit awkward when you're over the Atlantic and pilots on the intercom being like, yeah, well, guys, we ran out of gas.
That would be quite awkward, yeah. All right, shall we get going?
Is Travis coming?
All right.
I'm expecting Travis, but I have not heard from him today.
Okay. Let's see. And is Jared on there? Jared. Okay.
Yep, I'm Jared.
Well, let's go through the 0.7 list, see where we are with that. So I added 3 OpenShift things because the folks over at the Ceph team are trying to get Rook working on OpenShift. Looks like mostly permissions issues, not any policy issues around running on OpenShift. Although I think to be friendlier to OpenShift, we'd have to make some image changes in our containers.
Would that be image changes specific to the Rook, or image changes in that are related to Ceph that would need with the Ceph team wanting us to use their upstream containers they're going to build?
Well, we haven't really talked about how we bring the containers together. I think there's a good path there, but the changes are really around security and running as non-root.
Right.
Yeah, so it's more of that we currently assume to run as user ID 0, kind of, or at least there seems to be an issue with it, because OpenShift gives us another user ID, but still the root rights, not the privilege.
Yeah, it's in the root group, but not UID 0. So they have some guidelines for how to fix it. We can probably fix it in general. There are still some permission issues or security issues that need to be resolved. For example, OpenShift has this, you'd have to explicitly allow running privileged and for the agents.
That's configuration that a user needs to explicitly set on the OpenShift dashboard
correct.
Or experience?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Or command line. And then you still have to do the host plugin because we use HostPath. So there's a bunch of changes there, policy-wise, but I got it up and running. Sebastian's still struggling. So
do you want to pick it up?
Yeah, I can make the permission changes.
Okay.
So, but I want to see if Sebastian could confirm that those are all the issues.
And Bassam, what do you think about we'd open a general ticket, but maybe if something's in the 0.7 milestone specific for OpenShift would be appropriate for having a CI pipeline for those environments. Do you think that's a good fit for 0.7 as well, or is that too much
Yeah,
scope?
yeah. Let's figure out where Sebastian and company are gonna go with this. Um, Maybe they could lend us a OpenShift environment to test on.
A quick thing about the 1313 OpenShift error getting claim. I think that's more of related to, from what I read, that there is no storage class specified for this claim. And yeah, error getting claim, and then when you scroll in the log, you see something like storage class is not set or something, and Rook will pick it up and try to do something about it. But yeah, fails because, here, storage class empty, not found.
This sounds related to the issue we had open a while ago about that. Rook doesn't support the being the default storage class. When nothing's registered. Yeah. So it sounds like related to that.
Well, it's more than. Yeah.
Which Kubernetes version is that? Because that storage class name was introduced on 1.6, I believe.
That's what the OpenShift stable is on right now, 1.6.
Okay, so there might be some inconsistency because before the storage class name was being provided as an annotation, and that was changed to a natural attribute. I think that was done in 1.6, so maybe this is what they use.
Okay, who wants to look at this or just figure out if it's the same issue or not?
I think it would be more of adding permission, if we don't have it yet, to check what our storage class has and see if we are the default, and if not, we only listen to our Rook one. Or am I seeing it wrong?
That sounds about right. Is Travis on?
Yeah, I got here a little late. Sorry.
Okay. So who wants to take this one?
By the way, I'm going to be out the rest of this week, so I'm driving to Utah. I'll try and be online occasionally, but not sure how much.
I mean, I can take I can take a look on that. How easy is to set up an OpenShift environment?
Really easy. I got Minishift going with instructions here in this ticket.
Okay.
Right there.
Sure. Sure. I can take a look at this.
And Bassam, is that with your experience with Minishift, is it a pretty good representation of the greater product that is OpenShift Online? I think it's called.
Yeah, it seems very similar. I mean, from what I can tell, it's it's essentially Kubernetes plus a bunch of PaaS features. So.
Well, I think there's one thing that we still need to kind of keep in mind, that there are, from at least what I know, kind of two OpenShift products. So the OpenShift product you run your own, where you have full access. So you can also use host volumes and everything. And there's the hosted one. So we should at least clarify that, because, overall having a new, hey, we need Kubernetes for this. If you have OpenShift, you need at least this, something like that. And it needs to be running on your own servers and not a software as a service one. So we need to clarify that for everyone.
Yeah. Okay.
Alex, are you saying that we would not be able to support the hosted one, the OpenShift Online one?
I don't think I think there are also multiple different products that are hosted. So I think the first one is like when you are with million people on one cluster. And I think you can't use host path there. So the volume plugin wouldn't work. And you can.
It's very locked down. I tried the online one. You can't make any of the policy changes. You can't you can't even create a system account, a service account.
So it's really a question of, I think, really kind of, if the OpenShift guys are so kind and give us access to each product to test out what can be done. Because always having a user report, oh, I'm on OpenShift product, whatever here, it's not working, and we update the list isn't that good too. So maybe we can get something from them.
Yeah. So let's see what Sebastian comes back with. What's this one? Can't work on Minikube.
I think that's more of the thing with the directories not being able to be used unless it's in /mnt or something.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So Minikube doesn't. The varlib directory of Minikube doesn't have any directory because it's mounted to their boot directory. So you need to change it to something like /data or /mount bar or something like that. The problem with that is that a lot of users have run into is that our example YAML file by default has a data directory set to varlib rook. So the first thing that they see on Minikube, oh, this doesn't work. So
I saw the same thing on OpenShift.
Yeah, that's so we want to come up with a different way for new user who wants to who get them this working, because we feel that it's bad for first impression.
Right. And I think if we want this to work by default everywhere, I mean, I think the YAMLs we have checked in should work everywhere, and a blank data host path seems like the only thing that will work everywhere.
Yeah, well, the problem.
But then that's a regression.
The problem here seems to be that Minikube doesn't really have a file system below root. I think it was something like TempFS, or there isn't really anything mounted. And that's causing Ceph to fail, because I think Travis and Jared, we had it about the issue with the directories. There is the same, always in Minikube it's failing, but putting it on MNT data, it works, because it's a real...
No, I understand the problem. I think the default is either make it empty dir, which means that by default we're not persistent, or guess at a directory, which will likely be wrong in some environments as a default. I honestly think this is another one of those where local storage is the solution, but we should talk about that at some point.
Right. Well, and for other settings in the YAML, we have a default where it works in Minikube, like we don't use erasure coding, we replication one in the YAMLs, but then in the documentation we talk about, a 3-node cluster and use erasure coding. So this feels like maybe a place where, and it's an empty dir in the checked in YAMLs, but the documentation all talks about, setting that path.
I definitely don't want to go back to regress back to having the default of empty dir, because then we lose persistence, right? And that just causes all sorts of other problems. I wonder if this could just be solved with a really naive, dumb way of having a rook cluster -minikube.yaml or rook cluster -openshift.yaml, or ones that need special settings, or settings that will work by default in those environments, and just have a couple of different cluster.yaml files for the different environments.
So it's obvious, yeah.
So I'm seeing a 3 solutions so far, and let's see which one works best. I'm seeing have a dedicated YAML file just for the Minikube environment, where we set the right config and the right configuration, so I work with it. The other solution is to use empty dir, just like before, and that will work anywhere. Problem with that is that the monitor, the data will not be persist. So if a port restart, you will lose all data. So that's. Or third, we document it on the current YAML file. So I create a pull request. So on that cluster, the YAML file, it's commented, hey, if you're using Minikube, make sure you use this instead of that. Those are the 3 options that we have so far.
About your comment in the YAML, I think we should ask users what they use in the YAMLs, because I think we had a few users that were taking the YAML and being like, oh, that's commented out. Let's uncomment it and remove the replicated part. And I'm not sure why they choose, for example, erasure code in the last example. So I think we should ask users what they choose when they look at the YAMLs overall, if they even look at the comments.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't think the YAML is expected to work in every environment. That's not the intention. It's set to be an example. So do the docs actually make it clear that you should edit the YAML, set it up before running it?
Yeah, the docs definitely talk about setting the data to host path to somewhere that's persistent across reboots.
The problem with that is that a newcomer from Rook who never tried it before, the first thing they will do is just boot a Minikube and run the YAML, and they will see that doesn't work.
Yeah, well, that's as I said, we have to check with the users what they do. So if they really just go like, yeah, create the YAMLs, I think we kind of have a problem here with that. Yeah, we would love to.
I think for now what we do is we just edit the YAML, put some more comments. If you're running on Minikube, set this to mount SDA1. If you're running on blah blah blah, set this to. Otherwise, leave the default be varlib rook, which is essentially a bare metal thing, and then the true solution for all of this is local storage. So
are you sure that would also a local storage provisioned in Minikube on the tempfs would fail the same way as
the problem gets pushed to whoever configured the kubelet. The path that local storage uses comes from now a setting. So it's up to the Kubernetes cluster to make sure that it has access to local storage. We're a consumer of it.
Still, I don't say that overall local storage won't work on tempfs. I'm more saying that especially with Ceph OSDs, it's not working with tempfs.
Oh no, I don't expect it to run on tempfs. I would hope it's running on actually real storage.
Then we have to maybe get in contact with Minikube, the Minikube guys, and ask them what they are going to do about the issue with local storage then too.
Yeah, I would assume that when local storage is supported, that Minikube would also configure local storage correctly.
Yeah. That sounds reasonable for where we want to get to with the experience for this. In addition to your idea, Bassam, about comments in the YAML of saying if you're on Minikube, use this path. Probably like a small mention in the docs and the quick start flow to special considerations would be wise as well.
Correct.
Okay, so I do have a PR already there for that solution. It's maybe missing more comments, but please review it and let me know what is missing. That's all what I added there. If you feel that I need more comment to be added on that YAML file, let me know.
I think we just looked at that PR, Stephen. It's just in the YAML, so maybe something in the actual docs. The doc flow would be smart as well.
Okay.
All right. Was there more to this one, Jared?
Yeah, there is more to it. As what's captured in this ticket here is the current state of things, I believe. But I don't think anybody else has gone back to this in quite a long, in a couple months.
Okay.
And this hasn't been touched either.
Have we enabled? There's a balancer module now that is part of Ceph Manager that can balance placement groups.
Is that in 12.2.2?
Yeah.
I don't think that's an issue in what you mean right now. I think it's more of like the issue that when you have, I don't know, 5 nodes, you will get this message no matter what you do. Because you, for example, have one pool with 100 PGs as default right now, and then you split it by 5, and you are below the 30. So.
Right, but the general topic of essentially dynamically resizing placement groups, I think is interesting. I mean, you can grow them now, and you can grow them slowly. You can't shrink them. But there was additional work that just went in to Luminous that helps with rebalancing them. We should figure out how to enable all of that.
Yeah, that's fair. And Bassam, do you know already if that balancing module, is it just working dealing with weights in the placement groups to make sure that data distribution is balanced, or does it actually it doesn't change placement group counts, right?
And I can change
it just updates weights.
Okay.
Say that again, Dan. It just what?
It just updates the weights on the OSDs.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. And there's supposedly a whole slew of work that's slated for Mimic that could help with this. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I think we have to solve for Rook scenarios. I mean, this is one of the issues that everybody dislikes about Ceph is managing placement groups.
And being
do we
aware
know
of
what their sorry?
Go
Do
ahead,
we
Dan.
know what their architecture for that is? Are we tracking that so that we know what they're planning on doing in Mimic?
No, I've not tracked it carefully.
And Dan, that was going to be my comments as well. Is that they have expressed intent of kind of abstracting away placement groups that users won't even have to worry about them, and that's kind of sounds like our goal as well, right?
Yeah.
So making sure that the work that is going into Mimic is something that is going in the right path, and it's something that will help us is going to be smart.
I think we should add something about this issue with the too few PGs per OSD, because it isn't really an error. The cluster is totally fine with that. It's just, put some more pools on it and you're good to go.
Yeah.
That's more of the thing here. And as we had it, at least I personally especially think that it's extremely hard to add an automatic way to calculate how many PGs. Well, that's the reason it's so hard to manage the placement groups.
That's completely true, Alex.
So, it's just for example, I have only one pool in my cluster. Oh, I think 3, but I have one pool. It doesn't change. So I would go for many PGs. As I have, I don't know, X nodes, so I use the PG calculator. And I get as a value, I don't know, 1,000 or something. But for people that are just, I want one pool for storage, they just hit this message with too many nodes.
Yeah.
So at least I think adding something like, hey, that's not an error, because in Ceph it's a health warning. Not everything in Ceph as a health warning means something is going to break soon. So I think we should add something like that.
I mean, they're obviously that would be just kind of more of an experience thing and a very short-term thing that doesn't address the long-term placement group management desire, right? But if you wanted to just address that would be very simple to just kind of in the rookctl status output to either filter that, not just choose not to display that message essentially.
Yeah, well, I don't think we want to put more work into rookctl as we deprecate it.
Well,
or do we really want to put in the work there?
Well, I mean, that's the only place where that message is shown from the Rook side, right?
Yeah, well, for the Rook side, but a lot of users are also jumping in and running Ceph -S, for example. So I think adding it to a documentation would be, one way to deal with it. There's a connection. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh.
Yeah, let's do this in documentation for now then. And then let's see where that gets us.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there are probably 2 action items here. One is that we should just update the docs, and 2, we should get educated on what's happening in Mimic.
It sounds like a separate issue for the doc thing would be smart, because this is the long-term tracking issue for the greater goal. Okay, yeah. I'll open up a short little issue then.
Okay. Well, Jared, our favorite issue.
Yeah, what's happening with this one?
The big problem is that Ceph has a repository with Grafana dashboards in it. Could you scroll a bit higher? Just a few comments. A bit more. A bit more. I posted a screenshot, so...
Oh, you did?
Somewhere. Where is it? Oh, I think I posted it. Sorry, I posted it in the pull request. Well, the thing is that the Rook API setup with running a lot of Ceph commands is kind of, to make it sound bad, it's kind of broken. As I added resource limits to my cluster, especially to the Rook API. And if you set them too low, the commands kind of need a peak. So if you set the limits too low, for a CPU especially, you can't get any metrics anymore because it times out, at least when you run it with the 5-second scrape interval. So to come back to this issue, the problem right now is that there is no, the standby manager doesn't take any connections. So to look at it like from a Prometheus perspective, you always have one host with that is down. The standby manager completely refuses any connection unless it gets active. And then the other one is also not responding anymore because it's then standby. So that's the first problem. The second problem is that the Grafana dashboards, or I don't even think that they are Grafana dashboards. I think they are more of Prometheus or something dashboards.
Well, why do we need dashboards? I thought this was about getting to the point where we have a Prometheus exporter working again through the manager.
Yeah, well, and when you collect metrics, you would like to display them with a dashboard. So
but that could be
if we
outside.
disable the Rook API with the metrics there, and we don't provide users with a dashboard, I don't think users will like that.
No. What I'm saying is, what we had in the past was that the Rook API exposed Prometheus metrics, and then people could create their own Helm install Prometheus and run their own dashboard.
Yeah, well, but there was a dashboard. There was a dashboard that you could just import and you're ready to go. That's the thing I'm saying. And with the new metrics from the manager, they are completely different to what we expose. And I think also the DigitalOcean Ceph exporter exposes. And that would require new dashboards from the users. So the users can just simply import dashboard and are good to go and see their metrics.
Right. Basically, there's community. There's basically one Ceph Grafana community dashboard that everyone uses, and that needs the format from the way that we were collecting metrics before using this module. So there's just in the community that exists, and apparently there's not one that works yet for that.
At least they don't look like Grafana dashboards that's in the JSON. I tried importing them, but they don't work.
Okay, and is that's something that we make available as an example dashboard, or is it something that we have to host?
No, where they've been hosted before is on like a community Grafana site, in which everyone uses.
Grafana.com. You can share kind of everything from dashboards to plugins and stuff. So, but the main problem, besides the dashboards, is that as said, one manager service is always down.
It's down. Okay, and how does that affect? I'm sorry, I'm not following. How does that affect getting the exporters working?
It's not a problem of the exporter because the exporter is running in the manager. The problem is that most users have a rule, something like if up is 0, when up is 0, then service is down. And the problem with that is that by default, users would get alerts from the Prometheus because a host is down.
Okay, and how do we fix that?
But it's just in standby mode, right? It's not really down, it's just in standby.
Yeah, but it's refusing any connection. That means for us, Prometheus, it's not online.
Can we run just one manager then, and then if it goes down, we let Kubernetes like bring it up and not have that standby? Would that solve an issue? If we just have one manager.
Yeah, but well, then we lose the high availability kind of it.
But
it's designed to be done for. I mean, Kubernetes can restart it, and that's okay.
There's something open on tell me on a Trello board somewhere for Ceph, I think, that said something like, yeah, we're working on making the standby managers proxy the traffic to the active one, so that it's not down. That you can talk to both, and yeah, but it's not implemented. I don't think it will come that soon.
Yeah. So what's needed to get us back to working Prometheus metrics at this point? I'm not.
One solution I could think of is spawning an Nginx as a proxy in front of the managers, or overall having changing the manager pod to start 2 containers, and the second one is an Nginx that proxies to the first and to the second one. But I think for that we would need to make more modifications.
Okay, so if we run one manager, what's required to get us back to running Prometheus exporter?
Nothing. We don't even need an exporter there. It's all done in the manager. We don't have to do anything outside of the manager.
So can we for now just run one manager?
We had it that way originally, and then we added the other one later.
Can we go back to that?
Sure.
So the reason why we added a second manager, because we went to that Ceph presentation, I don't know, a couple months ago, and they recommended to have a manager running 2 times for HA.
But now we're running into all these issues. So I'd rather be in a state that's working and then add that feature later when we have a solution to it. But right now we have Prometheus is not working.
Could you comment that on the 1154?
Yeah.
The other one. Is it the pull request already?
Well, and given that we'll be running in Kubernetes, I mean, we're in near HA mode, just to start up the Ceph manager again if it dies.
Yeah. Getting back to running Prometheus metrics is, I think, pretty important.
By the way, Jared, that's the screenshot I meant.
Gotcha,
it's not
Alex.
Complete site, but yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to one. I mean, I think we're using a replication controller, right, for the Ceph managers.
It's a deployment.
So if you set it to 1 and one of them dies, Kubernetes will bring another one up. We should be okay. There's a little hiccup in availability, but it's not the end of the world.
I wonder how much different it would be than if we had the backup anyway, or the standby.
Yeah, exactly.
But the standby would also only activate after, I don't know, 10 to 20, 30 seconds or something like that.
And that's okay. There's nothing going through there that is, critical of any kind.
So do we see it as 2 tasks of adding the packages and enabling the Prometheus metrics in a Ceph manager as 1 task, and the dashboards as another task then?
Yeah, the dashboard is the making sure that whatever is exported works with the dashboard that people are using. Or us creating a new dashboard. I mean, I can't imagine that.
We could provide the user with rewrite rules, but we shouldn't begin with that.
That sounds like it should go upstream to Ceph, because they would want the dashboard too if they're changing.
Yeah, as said, I couldn't get the dashboards working, so.
Yeah, that's fair, Bassam, but I would definitely not want us to switch our, from our documentation. If you follow just the default path of what we say to do in the documentation, I do want to end up in a place where you have a pretty dashboard to visualize everything. Right?
Could we help drive the changes upstream for the dashboard?
Yeah, they have it in a repository, so I can
Well, if it goes upstream, it will be in our repository too. I think it should be closer to wherever the changes are happening. If somebody makes more changes to the Ceph Manager module for Prometheus, they should make the equivalent changes in the dashboard.
Absolutely.
Oh, so, I think they don't even have Grafana dashboards. It's really Prometheus dashboards and not Grafana dashboards. I'm just realizing that, I think. Yeah, well.
That could be okay too. I just want to end up in an experience where people, set up their metrics according to the simple instructions in our docs, and they end up with something to look at. I don't care if it's Grafana or if it's dashboard. I don't care. I just want a good experience where people can see visualization of the health of their cluster.
But let's go back to the goal of this. Yeah. Ceph upstream is going to have support for Prometheus through a manager module. We want to use that manager module for Prometheus, and we want it so that when changes are made in upstream, that they work with, Rook and other scenarios. So to that extent, I'd say we should figure out how to make the manager module upstream work well. Dashboard and all.
One thing about the change is that it's kind of breaking existing clusters if the mons aren't updated first. That's the problem. I noticed it with JPDS that the cluster the mons break if you update the operator first, but you have to update the mons and then the mons and then the managers and then the operator, because if it enables the module, everything is kind of coming crashing down.
Okay.
But we could just add it to the changelog, as we already did with earlier breaking changes, if that's okay.
Yeah. That seems like a third issue now.
Yeah.
Are we tracking that one? Is there
the breaking change?
Yeah.
I don't think we have it mentioned yet. I think there is a bit of the discussion in the issue, but I don't think it was mentioned anywhere really. Like it's breaking change.
Wait, so are we saying though that the monitors can't handle runtime changes to what modules are loaded?
If they don't have the module, they fail. At least that's what's happened to my cluster once. Then I had the cluster running, was like, just updated, and I restarted the operator, and it enabled the module, and the mons began crashing because of the module not being in it, or more of the commands not in the managers being available.
They crash, or they
crash.
That sounds like a bug in Ceph, but unless I don't understand why it's crashing, it sounds like the monitor should be more resilient to.
It's crashing because the module isn't installed on a mons, or at least on a managers. So
okay.
I'm not sure if it has to be installed in both places at the same time, kind of.
And is that a build issue because we don't actually have the manager module that we need in there?
Yeah, that's what I added in my pull request.
Okay, so let's figure out how to get all the things we need in the image. Get back to running Prometheus exporters, and then figure out the dashboard issue around that.
Yeah,
I think. Okay, let's move on. Deleting the bucket takes a long time.
Yeah, if you have a lot of objects, you put a lot of objects in your object store, it just slowly deletes them before it purges the bucket. So I haven't looked yet if there's something we can do about this to just wipe a bucket. But
okay,
yeah,
deleting a pool doesn't take a long time, does it?
No, it's just the bucket.
Huh.
Yeah. For an object store.
Okay.
Deleting a bucket iterates through the objects.
Yeah, and I was wondering if you could just pull the pool underneath it, kill
Well, the buckets aren't in unique pools. That's the problem.
Okay.
You'd have to set up separate object stores, I think, to get that to work right now.
Okay. So I don't know what to do about this one besides maybe ask the guys at the Sev team about it.
Right, just see if there's any setting that we can say.
Okay.
Travis, can you add a note to the ticket for that? Because a lot of times we talk about tickets, but we don't, capture it and follow up on them.
Definitely.
Thank you.
And this is something you started, Travis?
So yes, I've got this one pretty much there, but then needed to look at the finalizers as well to make sure we're cleaning up things in the right order, so we can still clean up our pools or not the pools, the attachments and things before we clean up the whole cluster.
Okay. Okay. Let's skip this one. Count activity. What's happening with this one?
Oh, it was a documentation, or I think that's all we need is documentation to clarify what we do with affinity and all that. So I'll take a look at this again and just open up a pull request.
Devesh, what's happening with the integration tests? Let's just consolidate.
Yeah, right now we are up to like 20 minutes, sometimes up to 25. To make that shorter and make CI go faster. Some ideas. So right now each suit is setting up and tearing down Rook. I want to consolidate, set up Rook once and run a few tests. Do something, just shorten the time.
So the idea is to amortize all of our checks and tests across a smaller number of setup and teardowns?
Right, yeah.
Gotcha.
I want to see if I can combine a few integration tests.
Right. I think we have what, 3 or 4 different setups and teardowns. So and I thought they all had a purpose. Like one's for Helm and one's for normal setup and one's.
Yeah, I think we only need 2 actually. One for Helm. Yeah, we need 3, but now we have 5 in there, so there's room for consolidation.
A little bit.
Yeah.
That's not going to cut a lot off. Just.
Right. And for the performance test, I looked at it a little bit. I was going to use Prometheus as well, and I didn't know there were issues with Prometheus, but the idea is
right now they are.
Same our long haul test running with higher thread count, and I'll keep taking snapshots of like the Prometheus graphs. And that would be data for our performance test. Our long haul tests have been pretty good, and I've had one running. It's been for a week now, and Rook has been doing good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a 1.9 pipeline now that has been released, Devesh?
I'm going to work on that today. I haven't done that yet, but I'll do that today.
I didn't do it.
Yeah, this one should be setting on the pool CRD, so you can use a different route in the crush map.
And it looks like.
That's right, David. Yeah, started on this.
And then close this.
Yeah, I can't remember why he just abandoned it.
It looks like it's a bunch of merge requests, but maybe it's just he merged from master by mistake.
I think he closed it because there was a comment in it which isn't verified. So I think that's
okay. If he has can somebody follow up with him and see if he has the changes? Let's get him in.
Yeah, I'll do that.
And then.
But you have to be early in our time. Okay.
That's true. He's in Europe. Huh?
Yeah, he's in Munich to be exact.
Okay, great.
This is the volume plugin there.
Yeah, but Sam, let me give you an update on this one.
Yeah.
So, there's multiple ways to attack this. The one that we first started with was trying to do a fix an upstream Kubernetes, implement a feature ourselves and drive that through the storage SIG for having multiple default locations, and that
Right.
did not not get approved, did not get much traction. So that did not make it in the 1.9 time frame. So we may want to continue doing something that Steve had an idea that we may pursue in the 1.10 time frame, and then another place that we want to possibly make some changes is in the various upstream environments, like do something in CoreOS or kubeadm or in Rancher, something in those upstream environments to make the experience such that the user doesn't have to do anything themselves manually, and could remove all that documentation around it. Basically, I'm in an agreement with Jordan Liggett that it really is the responsibility of who's setting up the kubelet, and those environments are not setting it up correctly.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think we already have about a dozen tickets in every project now open. At least for CoreOS, I think we have about 3 to 4 issues about it open in the docs, in the bugs, in everywhere, kind of.
Yeah, I think that we're going to have to drive more ourselves upstream. We're going to have to take some more leadership on this.
Okay, so can we close this then here? Or can you put comment or something about that we're driving this upstream? Yeah.
So one thing that I want to add is that on the last meeting last week, the SIG storage meeting, they said that they were not going to do anything to change the Flex Volume API. So we are not able to add anything on the YAML file or anything like that. They said that all the effort should go to the CSI, and CSI, they're pushing it to be beta for 1.10.
Yeah.
So, so SAT said that if 1.10 is not still in beta and we still need some changes on Flex Volume, kind of like raw, I was actually for raw block devices. They said that we can, it's fair for us to make the changes on Flex Volume, but until then, they wouldn't accept any changes on that changes the API on the Flex Volume.
Yeah. So going forward, we're going to try to work with Sage and company on a CSI plugin that does all the things we want it to do, including user space. So I don't know what the timeline for that is. It's one of the things that we're talking to them about as well.
So I wanted to bring that up probably later in the meeting is that CSI. Right? So CSI right now is 1.8 is released. It's alpha, but it's released. So we as a team we should start engaging it right away and create a plugin and all that to ensure that CSI has everything that we need to get it to work. So
that's what I was just saying, Steve. I think it'll be a common CSI implementation between us and the upstream stuff.
Okay.
So I think that's the approach that we're advocating. And I think we should try to figure out how to get. Some of the features that we wanted to get in, like user mode, Ceph views, and all that stuff, could go in this new CSI plugin. So I think there's some design work to be done, and it's on one of the topics we're discussing with Sage and team on getting a common CSI implementation. So I'll follow up on that. I don't think it makes sense to have multiple CSI implementations here. But,
so they are creating a CSI plugin for Rook or for Ceph?
Well, for both, right? I mean, if we arrive at a CSI implementation that does the user mode dynamic selection of data paths, then it could be the same one. There's no need for two. Make sense?
Would that apply for like a non-Ceph storage? because I'm thinking of a CSI plugin for Rook to be sort of non-safe specific or not expose a lot of the Ceph specific information, and make it more like a type of a generic, and then hide those implemented Ceph stuff, Ceph configuration, abstract them. That's what I was thinking for Rook.
Yeah, I'm not sure I see that. Let's take it offline. There's definitely more design work to be done on it. Okay, so tell me about this PVC handling of CephFS.
Yes. So right now,
right?
Yes. So right now, the way we consume the flex volume, or we is through the the CephFS is through a flex volume.
Yeah, I remember this.
What we want to do to this is to kind of use the dynamic provision file system. So there's implementation done using Python on the external storage, so we can leverage that. So what it does is that it creates one file system, one Ceph file system server, and then from that server it creates directory for every file system the user needs. So that's this dynamically handle of provisioning. From that, you create like subpath that you allocate to each user. There's already implementation for that, and like I said, it's through a Python script. So that's.
Where is that?
It's on the external storage. I think I have put a link somewhere here. Maybe on the design proposal.
So a subdirectory is created for every use of every claim? Yes,
for every claim, there will be a subdirectory. And then when that claim is deleted, then that subdirectory gets deleted. So that's how the dynamic provision is being proposed.
Interesting. And that's part of the external storage project?
The external project has an implementation of that. It's done in Python, and the reason why it's done in Python is because it invokes a Ceph library that is also in Python.
Okay. And I saw the design. Did you start any work on this, or is this?
No, I haven't started any work. Yeah, okay. Just the design. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Do we have anything more? Yeah.
There's validation here. Was there any work started on this, or is this just still also thinking and design?
Yeah, it's...
No, I don't think anything's been started yet.
And this would be schema validation only at this point, right?
That's right.
Not runtime validation.
Right. I think that's a 1.10 thing. I need to double check.
Yeah. Okay.
I would have one more thing that I would like to add to the 0.7. It's the issue about fixing the directories usage. Jared, you remember?
No, I don't know the specifics of what you're talking about.
Where we found out that directories in Minikube are broken when you don't use MNT data. So whether for use all nodes, the directories didn't work.
Do we have a specific issue that captures that, Alex?
Yeah, I posted it in the chat. It's 1293. I already have the pull request up, but I think it kind of became stuck because of KubeCon.
Because in this pull request fixes all the issues?
Looks like it.
What do you mean all issues? It's fixing the directories issue. With use all nodes, you couldn't specify directories. It was kind of problem.
So if use all nodes was set to true, are you saying the directory is going to apply?
Right, and Alex, I thought you had said that while testing this, you found that there was, some case that using directories didn't work at all. So is there a separate issue that's?
No. That's as I said, the issue that I found there was in Minikube. I couldn't use Rook or something. I could.
Oh, so that was okay. So it's not just specifically related to our implementation in Golang code.
Yeah.
So okay. So
it's overall
then I know exactly what you're talking about. Then, and I will look at this pull request and follow up on it today.
Yeah, thanks.
Looks like you already approved it, Jared.
I think we had some more back and forth on it, and then or Alex had made another commit, but I will follow up on this. I've been offline a lot recently, but I'm back on. So sorry.
Just let me know.
Okay. Anything else that we should talk about here?
I don't think
okay. Cool. And the next one is going to be in the new year, right? Is it the first week? I think it'll be the first week, right?
Yeah, I think that Monday is New Year's Day.
Yeah, so we're going to have to move that one.
Probably to Tuesday, the 2nd.
Yeah, or maybe we can offset them. They shift. That's fine. Tuesday's fine.
Yeah, I think Tuesday is the best option. I think there'd be a conflict if we shifted.
Yeah. Okay.
Good.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
So everyone have a happy holidays and New Year's and all that.
You too, guys.
Thanks for some.
You want to hop in Hangouts?
Yeah.
Okay.